Hello, Facebook Live. Uh, we are a little bit slow with our guest adding us today, but I'm going to go ahead and get started with the broadcast. I'm Brad Botes, and I'm with the Bradford Botes Law Offices. We are a consumer bankruptcy firm, and we help people with money issues. A lot of folks are having money challenges right now with the COVID pandemic. Our firm has offices throughout the state of Alabama. We are through most of Mississippi, offices in Jackson and in Hattiesburg and in Vicksburg, and we're in Knoxville, Tennessee. All of our offices are experienced and have been helping people with money problems for a number of years. In fact, our firm has been around now for over 30 years. So if you're having financial challenges, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. So since we've been dealing with COVID and a lot of us have been home, our firm has been doing these Facebook Live presentations on Wednesday at 1:00 p.m. And today we're fortunate to have a special guest with us, Jan Leasure. And Jan, thank you for joining us today. We're doing these Facebook Live presentations, though, just to help people with questions they have about money and about finances. And today's topic is specifically what to do about mortgages. Many people are having problems with mortgages because they've been out of work, haven't been receiving pay, or perhaps they're a small business owner and their business haven't been making money. But my special guest today is Jan Leasure, and Jan is the division president at Diamond Residential Mortgage. She's a certified divorce mortgage specialist, and previously has been a contributing editor to the, it's a popular publication, it's the Super Saver publication. She's excellent. She's been helping consumers save, repair their credit, and purchase homes since 1996. She's helped people through recessions, divorces, good times and bad. And today she's here to speak with me about consumer credit and how the financial challenges created by COVID have impacted the relationship many people have with their mortgage companies and lenders. Jan, thanks for joining me today. It looks like we are still having a little bit of a problem with our signal, and hopefully Jan will be able to tune in shortly. But if not, I still want to move forward with this and answer questions that many of you may have. Now, during the COVID pandemic, our office is offering absolutely free initial consultations with a experienced consumer attorney. And we're doing these consultations, if you wish, by video or by phone, so that you can talk to us from the comfort and the safety of your own home or office. Again, we just want you to be able to get your questions answered. Yes, we're bankruptcy attorneys, and yes, we do bankruptcy work. But just because you call us doesn't mean that you need to seek bankruptcy protection. In fact, although I'm a bankruptcy attorney, my first objective is going to be to try to keep you out of bankruptcy. So call us, explore all of your options, and let us help you try to come up with the best solution for you. Again, absolutely no charge and no obligation. We're just making our attorneys available for absolutely free initial consultations during the COVID pandemic, and you can do them from the safety and comfort of your own home or office. If you want to arrange a consultation, you can see our phone number at the bottom of your screen. And our website address is also available. You can go to our website, and we have a great deal of information about bankruptcy and how it impacts different things, how it can help you. You can also request a consultation through our website by completing a form there. But we have representatives available. We have specialists that will help you schedule a consultation, again, at your convenience and at your safety. Jan, have you been able to tune in? It looks like you may have been able to join us now. Can you hear me? Well, again, I apologize, folks, for the tech.
Kind of going in and out a little bit. I'm trying really hard.
All right. Can you hear me now, Jan? And again, I apologize, folks. It just looks like we're having some technical issues. Hopefully, we'll be able to clear those up in just a second. But here's what we're going to be talking about today during this presentation. What to do if you're late or haven't been able to pay your mortgage payments. It's important, and I know a lot of you are concerned about that because I've talked to a lot of you by phone. What the consequences of late payments are, what bills to pay if you have to choose. If you don't have enough money to pay all your bills and you have to choose between your bills, which bills you should be paying, how to protect your credit while you get back on your feet. If you are behind on payments, how to avoid foreclosure. We don't want you to lose your home. So we're going to talk about how to avoid foreclosure. We're going to talk about bankruptcy and mortgages. Can you buy or refinance your home? Can you buy a home or refinance your home if you've recently been through a bankruptcy? Divorce. So just a couple of weeks back, we did this Facebook Live presentation, and we featured Patrick Slaughter, who is a divorce attorney in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we talked about the fact that, unfortunately, not only will people be having a lot of financial challenges related to COVID, but a lot of people are facing relational challenges too. So experts expect upticks in both divorce and bankruptcy. So we're going to talk about divorce and mortgages, and can you purchase a home either during or after divorce, and whether or not you should apply for a mortgage as you're going through a divorce. And then we'll answer questions from you. So please feel free to type in any questions you may have on the screen here, and we'll make sure to try to answer them. If I don't answer them today, again, please call. There are just no bad questions right now. No obligations. Call. We'll schedule you a time to talk to one of our attorneys, or go to our website and gather more information. So the first area that I want to talk about is, if you can't make your payments right now, what's the impact of making late mortgage payments? Well, late mortgage payments typically will be reported on your credit, and they can have a negative impact. They can impact your ability to get a new mortgage loan in the future. Right now, many of the mortgage servicers are not being quite as diligent as they may have been in the past in reporting late payments, but if at all possible, and you can make your mortgage payments, you want to make them on time. And a lot of folks will often say, well, my payment is due on the 1st, but it's not past due. It's not late until the 10th or the 15th. Their mortgage servicer gives them a later date by which to make the payment. it's still always good to try to make that payment by the initial due date. Even though it may not be reported late, it's going to impact the interest you're paying over the life of the loan. Hello, Jan. Can you hear me now? Are you involved?
We made it. Yeah, now I can hear you through my computer and through my earpiece. So
Well, good. Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
thank you. I'm sorry for all the technical difficulties.
Oh, no problem at all. We just appreciate you joining us and talking to our viewers. I'm going to introduce you once again because if anybody didn't get a chance, so Jan is she's been helping consumers since 1996. She helps people save. She helps people repair their credit, purchase homes. She's division president at Diamond Residential Mortgage, and she's a certified divorce mortgage specialist. She was a contributing editor to the popular Money Saving Super Savers publication. So, Jan, thanks for joining me.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. It seems like a super opportunity that you're giving your clients.
And Jan, as I was explaining, although we do primarily bankruptcy work, it's kind of a different business in that, if people call us, the first thing we want to do is help them avoid bankruptcy. We want to explore every other option. Bankruptcy certainly should not be anyone's first choice, and my guess is that you would agree with me. But we do encourage people to reach out and ask questions right now and gather as much information as they can. And that's why we're doing these special Facebook Live presentations during the COVID pandemic. Jan, I have your phone number and your email address on the screen, and I want to encourage people that have questions about mortgages or the other topics that we'll discuss today, not only to reach out to me, but Jan's available if she can help you. Jan, I want to go ahead and get started with some of the questions we had here. And the first question is, what do you do right now if you're able to make your mortgage payments, but you're late? What impact do late payments have when paying your mortgage?
Well, late payments for anything that's on your credit report, Brad, it's going to be a disaster. So I would step back just a little bit prior to this, and I was able to hear you, but you couldn't hear me. And I would say that before you do anything, call every single creditor that's on your credit report, whether it's your mortgage, your car, if it's a credit card, and see if they are offering any type of a program where they will put you on furlough, kind of like you get furloughed from your job. You can get furloughed from your mortgage and your other payments. So the first thing that I would do is that, and I would say never just stop paying anything. And I know you're asking me, should you prioritize? Quite frankly, and actually this happened to me. I paid off, this didn't have anything to do with COVID, but several years ago, I paid off a Kohl's charge, where you charge $100, $200, and I must have missed a late payment deadline, and they put a $25 late payment on my credit report. So as a loan officer, I'm overly concerned about my credit score.
Sure.
And ran my own credit to do a refi on my own house, and that one $25 late payment, they put it on my credit, and I lost 100 points. So it's credit and credit scoring is a very fickle, very fickle compatriot. And all of them are very important. Quite obviously, if you have to prioritize, I would definitely say you need to prioritize in the sense that it's going to impact you personally. So of course, if we go back to Maslow's needs, what do you need? You need food, you need shelter, in some cases you need transportation. So what's the most important? And I don't say this as a loan officer. I say this as a family person. Your mortgage is probably the thing that you should struggle to pay the most, because the worst thing that you want to do is lose your house. and then I would go on from there. But I think it's going to be different for every single person.
Jen, you made a good point. You should reach out to your creditors, ask if there are forbearance programs, ask if they have any certain arrangements that could be made while people are out of work and unable to keep their bills current. One thing we've done is we've encouraged our viewers and people we've talked to, if you make that call and you do work out some sort of arrangement, document what you've done and make a record of who you've talked to, the number you called, the date you called, and perhaps even follow it up with a letter or an email confirming that the arrangements have been made. Because you and I both know there are a lot of different representatives with these large mortgage servicers, and sometimes the left hand doesn't always know what the right hand's doing. So it's important to have good documentation of any conversations like that. What arrangements have you heard of that some of the different mortgage companies are offering right now while COVID's pending?
Every single investor is different, and they approach it in a different manner. I have seen a number of people, although I wouldn't recommend this, who are able to get their mortgage put on furlough for 90 days with a phone call. And I know this because when I run somebody's credit, if they want to refinance or if they're out to purchase a new home, their mortgage will appear. It will still appear on your credit report, but there's a blank where the payment would be. So where normally it would be, say, $1,800 a month, that's blank. Now that's only going to happen for the amount of time that particular creditor is going to allow you to not make your mortgage payment. And in most cases, well, they're all a little bit different, but the traditional thing that I'm seeing right now is they will give you a breather for 90 days. So if you got furloughed in March and you didn't make your mortgage payment in March, April, and May, June 1st, and you might have a lot of viewers right now who are experiencing this, they get a telephone call and a letter from their creditor or their mortgage company, and they want all 3 payments along with the current payment in order to not have this impact their credit. And this throws people into a tizzy, because if you didn't have $1,800 3 months ago, you're probably not going to have $6,200 tomorrow.
Sure. I know that, and as you said, each of the investors are doing things a little bit differently. I know that some of the investors have offered to put that the 3 months payments essentially at the back of the mortgage, but others are not. They're asking for those payments all at once. And I want to caution viewers here, the foreclosure process, if you're behind on your payments, is different in every state. But in Alabama and Mississippi and Tennessee, where our offices are, each of these states are what are called non-judicial foreclosure states, which means the mortgage company, mortgage servicer, can foreclose on your home without any type of judicial process. In other words, it's fast. In Alabama, terrifying. Pardon me?
That's terrifying.
It is terrifying. And in the process in Alabama, from start to finish, can be just 4 or 5 weeks. And if you are behind, again, reach out for help early. Find out what your options are. Sometimes in that situation, a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, which is not a bankruptcy where you necessarily wipe out your mortgage debt, but where you file a plan to catch up your mortgage payments and save your home, will help. But again, that should not be your first option. As Jan said, you should talk to the mortgage company and explore all of your options. So Jan, what do you tell your lender if you're out of work? If you're like you've been laid off, or perhaps you're a small business person and you've had to close your business down temporarily, what's the best thing to tell your mortgage company?
I would notify them. The first thing that I would do is I would call. So I would call the customer service number that's on your mortgage statement and talk with someone. And as you mentioned, always document. Have a pad of paper and a pen. Get some hard copy. Try to get the name or the badge number of the person that you're talking with so that you can write down what they say. And as you mentioned, follow up with an email. But notify them and let them know. They're going to ask you questions as well. They'll probably have a script prepared, and they want your name, rank, serial number, where you were working, so that they can confirm that you actually are not working, or that you are self-employed, and that you're not, or we're not one of the essential businesses. From that point on, and you brought up several very excellent points. The first one is, if you do have a lender that will put the payments on the back of your mortgage, that's really a gift, because that will save you from pursuing any additional cures like a bankruptcy, because that, of course, that it's very necessary, but it should be your last option. If you have to do it, you have to do it in order to save your house. If they do want all the money right away, and in a non-judicial state, and I wasn't aware of this because I'm not licensed in any of the non-judicial states. I think most of the states where I'm licensed, there is a judicial process that you have to go through that can be very, very lengthy. So they do give you time, to stay in your home. But again, every single month that you're staying in your home and you're not making your mortgage payment, that's just building, and it's just more money that you're going to owe at the end.
And more interest accruing.
Yeah, more interest. Yeah, more interest and more principal. So you're going to have more to pay. But I think losing your home is probably one of the most difficult things that a person can go through. Losing your home, getting a divorce, having a death in your family. Those are all right up there. So if you live in a state that's a non-judicial state, as a loan officer, I would say to contact an attorney immediately. And when you mention a Chapter 13, we actually can do a mortgage. We can do a refinance, or you can purchase another home if you're in a Chapter 13 with an FHA loan or a VA loan after 12 months, which is pretty fast. So
sure
it doesn't completely throw a bomb in your life, but while we're experiencing all these other things that we have to deal with, a Chapter 13 might give people time to step back and breathe and figure out what they want to do. And I look at that as sort of a Chapter 11 business bankruptcy. You would know that better than I, but on a personal level, I think that that's less traumatic than some of the other options that people could pursue.
Jan, that's a great comparison, and I think I should take just a minute here to talk a little bit about Chapter 13. As Jan said, most people, when they think of bankruptcy, they think of liquidation, losing everything, straight bankruptcy. But in the southeastern United States, Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, most of the bankruptcies that are filed by individuals are Chapter 13, and it's similar to a corporation doing a Chapter 11 type reorganization. You're asking for temporary relief from your creditors. The court can stop foreclosure, and then you're allowed to propose a plan to catch up what you're behind on your mortgage over a period of time. And Jane and I have used some technical terms, non-judicial foreclosure state. But again, that means that in these states, the mortgage servicer can foreclose on your home without filing any type of petition with the court. In Alabama, for instance, the mortgage lender is simply required to publish a notice of foreclosure sale in a newspaper for several weeks. It's going to be 4 or 5 weeks. And then they simply hold a sale on the courthouse steps. And when that takes place, you've lost your home. You no longer own your home. You do have a short period of time to redeem the property, but you want to get to a bankruptcy attorney before that foreclosure sale date, hopefully a good couple of weeks before. Jan, sometimes what we find is that Folks will hold off till just the very last minute because they're talking to somebody with the mortgage company about a possible modification of the mortgage. And unfortunately, sometimes they'll be talking to one department with the mortgage company about a modification, while at the same time, the mortgage company's attorneys are moving forward with the foreclosure. So don't put off reaching out and getting help and getting advice. Don't wait to the last minute. But Jan, I want to talk. You also have some expertise in helping people to save. A lot of folks are having problems right now because they've lived from paycheck to paycheck. Can you give our viewers some tips, some advice about good saving habits moving forward?
I would say one of the best ways to save, and this has been from my personal experience, is forced savings. So, and I tell this to my children too, and I think, and I have two grandsons that are really, really little, so I'm doing this for them as we move forward, just in case they would wind up in a situation like this anytime, in their future life. But I think that talking with a good financial planner and getting some sort of a retirement plan set up, even if you're only putting in a small amount of money, because that's money that you deposit before taxes. So if you're depositing $1, you're really depositing $1. You're not depositing 50 cents. And when you come into a situation like this, of course, you want to do it in an account where if there's an emergency that you have access to the money, not something that you can't access for 30 years. But I think number one, a forced savings is one way to save money. When I was younger, I had my nationally syndicated column, Super Saver, which was all I did was teach people how to save money. And that was more on a personal level than on a professional level. And on a personal level, I used to use coupons. And I went into a store one day and I got $800 worth of groceries. They had a double coupon promotion going, and they gave me $80 to take the groceries home. So I had the groceries and I had the $80. And probably my intention was to put the $80 in the bank, but I probably went and bought myself something as a reward for being such a good shopper. But what I did do, I did put the coupon savings into a bank account.
Yeah, that's great. I think one way I've heard people explain it that makes sense to me is make sure you pay yourself every month. You're going to pay your car payment, you're going to pay your mortgage payment, you're going to pay your power bill, but write that check to yourself every month and put it into your savings account, so that when rainy days come and you just, who would have ever predicted what we're going through in 2020? And so many people would be without work, without an income. But when these days come, you want to be prepared. Um, how about people building credit? What are the best ways for young people, or perhaps people that don't have a good credit history, of building their credit, Jan?
Well, I think it's really important in only in our economy, but in our society, more and more, you're judged based on your credit score, and you're based on the type of credit that you have, and the type of debt that you carry. So let's say in the mortgage business, for example, or even if you're purchasing a car, they're going to check your credit, and we're always looking for 3 credit scores, and we're looking for things like credit depth and credit history. What I did with my daughters when they were 16, and we could do that at that time. I think you still can. I put them on my American Express card. I did not give them the American Express card. I'll
No,
make that very clear.
not a 16-year-old.
But I put them on the American Express card so that they would start to build their credit. And then when they were 18 and they could get their own credit, I helped them get, like a credit card that maybe they would use with a very, very low limit, maybe $500, so that they could use it at school for emergencies. The secret is, though, that once you have the credit, that you pay the credit. Because if you go out and you get, and lot of places that are very loose with their credit. They're going to give you lots of different credit cards, but if you don't keep up with them, or if it gets confusing, like you should get the credit, but rein it in a little bit so that you make sure that you always pay it, because it's much easier to get credit. It's much easier for me to get someone a house within 30 days if they have no credit and I can help them build their credit, than it is for somebody to come in who has had a credit disaster and we have to go back and rebuild it and repair everything. One thing, obviously getting a car payment, if you need to get a car, new or used, and you have a car payment on your credit and you pay that on a regular basis, that's going to help you build your credit standing with the 3 credit bureaus. But car payments, mortgage payments, if you go out and you purchase furniture and it's a closed end credit account, once you pay those off, you lose your credit history. So in order to keep your credit history going, whether you like it or not, you do have to have some types of revolving credit, which would be a credit card. And the only time it helps you is if you use it and then pay it off, use it and then pay it off. And then as you're moving forward in time, that will help you boost your credit score.
Well, that's something I didn't know. I had done something similar to what you did with my kids as they were younger. I helped them buy used cars, and although I was making the payments, I put the loan in their name in addition to mine. And I know that helped some, but your point about revolving credit continuing makes a lot of sense to me. So that's great advice for our viewers. Thanks for that, Jan.
Now, I might add here too that we have people come in who had a lot of credit at one time, had 800 credit scores, and they think that closing out all of their revolving credit is going to help their credit score get even higher. And they'll come in and they'll be, oh, run my credit. And we run their credit and they're like, you're going to love this because we paid everything off on our credit. And then we closed all the accounts. And then they're shocked to see, that they lost 100 or 150 points on their credit, because the minute that you close it, you lose the history.
That's great information. So, all right, we've talked about how to build credit. What if you have bad credit? What's the best advice as to how to repair your credit, clean up your credit?
Well, if you have bad credit, there's lots of different types of bad credit. So if you have bad credit because you're late on your payments, the first thing that I would do, and I wouldn't even start doing this until I felt that my life was back on track. You can't really fix your credit if you're unemployed, or if you don't know where you're at in life. So I would wait to start working on that until I had a job, knew what I had coming in, and I had some stability. Then I would call the creditors on the items that are still open, and I'd actually talk with them and ask if they would negotiate to get some of the late payments off. So that's the first place that I would start. If you have situations like where you've lost a car and you have a lot of big collections on your credit report, that's another time where you're going to need to get in and negotiate with those creditors to see if you can possibly pay less to get that item removed from your report. If your credit history has gotten so bad that you have, let's say you have a foreclosure on your credit and you've got a car that was repossessed and you had used a lot of credit cards, you lost your job, you can't pay into that off and you get in a difficult situation. That's another reason why somebody would consult a bankruptcy attorney. Sometimes people think that if they do the quote unquote right thing, there is really no right thing, but they think that if they do the right thing and they take years and years, and it's kind of like digging a hole with a shovel, and they keep shoveling all the extra money that they have on these debts. Sometimes that will not help your credit, and you do need to have a fresh start, and you do need to file some type of a bankruptcy in order to get restarted.
Again, an excellent point. And as I've said multiple times, bankruptcy should not be your first option. But if your credit's already in real bad shape, if you've had a repossession, if you've had perhaps lawsuits or judgments, a bankruptcy can be the first step in rebuilding your credit. But similar to what Jan said in beginning to rebuild your credit, Jan, often folks will come to me and they're asking about bankruptcy, but they're still, they're unemployed, they're unable to pay their current bills. I always try to tell people, you want to make sure that life is going to be on the upswing after the bankruptcy. You can only file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy once every 8 years, and you really, we're one of the few business people we don't like repeat customers. You really don't want to be in bankruptcy more than once, period. So, you know, before I file a straight bankruptcy for somebody, I'd like to make sure that they have a regular source of income again, that perhaps they have health insurance to cover future medical bills. The timing of a bankruptcy filing is very important if you're going to file bankruptcy. So a lot of folks having money problems, and again, projections are that bankruptcy filings are going to be up. If you're going to do it, get the advice of somebody that's experienced and qualified. Don't just shop around for the cheapest. Make sure you hire somebody that you know is going to be with you for the long run, that's going to look out for you, and is going to especially look at the timing of your bankruptcy filing. Jan, the next thing, the next item here that I want to discuss with you is about actually applying for a mortgage. A lot of people that are listening to us, that are viewing us, probably have never been through the mortgage application process. What should somebody expect when applying for a mortgage?
Well, what we do is we start a credit file on people, and you brought up. I'll get to your question, but you brought up something very interesting when you said about having insurance and being able to pay their medical bills. There is a difference between medical debt and debt from having a foreclosure on your house, or having a repossessed car, or having credit card problems. We have people come in very often where they have everything is perfect as far as their payments on their house, their car, their credit cards, but they might have $30,000 worth of medical bills because they had some kind of a medical disaster. And with this COVID, that could have very easily happened for people that were uninsured. And they wind up with a lot of medical collections on their credit. Depending on the kind of mortgage that you apply for, sometimes we can close over those medical collections. So in that case, you would be able to avoid a bankruptcy, and then, or wait and utilize the bankruptcy if you had some big financial disasters that involved your house, your car, other things like that. But when we're doing a mortgage and we're having people apply for a loan, we have people 99% of the time now they can apply online. They use a secure link that we have, and they put their personal information in there. And the very first thing that we do when we're talking about credit is we check their credit. Because I used to be a teacher, one of the things that I liked to do is work with first-time home buyers. I like to get people in the office, or did before this. We've been open throughout the entire debacle here. So we have had people come into the office periodically, and we've gotten our masks and we go over the credit reports, line by line. Sometimes we can do it online, and sometimes we can do it on a Zoom call. So similar to what we're doing right now. I like to consult and confer and answer questions for the clients that I have, so that they have a good understanding before they actually get into the home buying process of how it's going to work, because it's very stressful for a lot of people. It's a complicated process. It involves the gathering of enormous amounts of paperwork. I call it kind of a paper practice scope, sort of like a bankruptcy in reverse. We gather all of the paperwork, and a lot of times we can upload that online as well. I prefer the personal touch, like to meet with people in the office, like to go over their documents with them and let them know what to expect. And I think I would say that this is the same for someone who's applying for a bankruptcy. An educated client is the best client that you can possibly work with, because once you have somebody's trust and they understand what the process is, I think they can relax a little bit and accept whatever is going to happen. And in my case, that would be buying a house, and that would be a very, a very positive end. In your case, I think seeing that that a bankruptcy isn't necessarily the end of your life, but it allows you to have a new beginning. And I work with people all the time that at some point in time or some point in their life, they had to file a bankruptcy, and they, for example, completely bankrupted their 401k to try not to do that, because they felt that it would make them less of a person if they didn't try to pay everything off. And I think getting advice right in the beginning is an excellent suggestion.
Jen, you just made an excellent point, but I do want to clarify there. What you're saying, I think they didn't bankrupt their 401k. They used up all the money
Yes,
in their
yes,
401k before consulting with a bankruptcy attorney.
yes, thank you.
Such a big mistake that people make, because folks, money in your 401k can be protected through the bankruptcy process. Don't spend all that money if there's not a long-term plan or a long-term solution. Protect that money for your retirement, for your family. Talk to an expert early on. And another excellent point you made, Jan, and I think people listening to you right now, watching you right now, should know that whether you're applying for a mortgage or you're seeking bankruptcy protection, these are often things people only do once in their lifetime. Mortgages maybe a little bit more often, but if you're going to do it right. Do it with somebody that you can sit down to and talk to, and that you can trust. Don't just call a toll-free number. Don't just go to some website. Get advice from an expert. Get advice from somebody like Jan that's been doing this for a long time, that can help you dot all the I's, cross all the T's, make sure everything is done correctly. So I want to just step aside from our conversation for a second here to remind our viewers what we're doing. I'm Brad Botes, and I'm with the Bond & Botes Law Offices. And during the COVID pandemic, every Wednesday at 1:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, we've been doing these Facebook Live events to just answer questions people have about money, about issues that have come up due to COVID, things that happen when you're unable to pay your bills. Last week, we had an excellent guest. We had Meg McGlamory, who's the executive director of the Crisis Center in Birmingham, and we just talked about the impact of the anxiety people are going through right now, and how to get help for yourself or for others that might be having problems with stress and anxiety related to COVID. Each of the Facebook Live episodes that we have done are available on our Facebook pages. They're recorded. And for instance, today's show, if you know somebody that would benefit from this information that Jan's providing to us, and they were unable to watch today, please refer them back to our Facebook page, where they can watch this at a future date. And you see now Jan's contact information on the bottom of your screen, her phone number and her email address. We also have had our phone number and website address on the screen. Don't just sit back right now. Reach out for help. Get as much advice as you can. So today, Jan Leasure and I are talking about mortgages and financial challenges due to COVID. So mortgages and bankruptcy is the next bullet point I have here, Jan. And I'm going to pose this question to you, but then I'm going to probably also chime in a little bit. Most people think if I file bankruptcy, I'm going to lose my home. So I'll ask you, Jan, am I going to lose my home if I file bankruptcy?
No, not necessarily. I mean, sorry, I'm plugging my phone in here.
That's all right.
This is really old school.
Uh,
You are not necessarily going to lose your home if you file bankruptcy, and actually a bankruptcy could be most definitely a protection for you. If you are, and I, again, the non-judicial state is something that I learned by talking with you today. And that's something that I'm going to be sharing, with my clients to find out if they're in a judicial state or a non-judicial state. I'm in Illinois. I'm
okay.
licensed in a lot of other states, as well, but I was unaware of the non-judicial process, which, as I said earlier, really horrified me. That if you can't make your mortgage payment, and it's probably the same as it is here, you miss 3 payments and you go into foreclosure. In Illinois, there's due process, and you can get an attorney, and you can put that off for a length of time so that you know whether you're going to be able to redeem your home, or if the best thing for you to do is move and allow it to go through the foreclosure process. However, if you seek advice right away, there are a number of ways that a bankruptcy can help you stay in your home. And I know I said this before, and I don't mean to appear to be a huge proponent of, having people scurry over to see their bankruptcy attorney.
Right.
But, but I do know that if you don't, and especially in a situation where you're in a non-judicial state, the idea of going through something like this COVID, losing your job, being a server in a restaurant, not having any income come in, and then you don't miss 3 payments, and you are not working with a lender that will work with you and allow you to make the payments up or put it on the back of your mortgage and pay it later. The most horrifying thing would be then to find all of your stuff out on your front yard, and you've lost your house as well. So, I can't even imagine, how difficult that would be, because this affects everybody, and it affects everybody in your family.
I can say this. I've been practicing bankruptcy law for over 30 years. I've represented thousands of people that have sought bankruptcy protection. I could count on one hand the number of people that lost their home through the bankruptcy process that did not intend to lose their home. Now, some people have just decided that they can't afford their home anymore. They'll file the bankruptcy and surrender their home in an orderly manner and make sure there's no type of deficiency balance. But the vast majority of people that come to see us that want to save their home are able to do so. They're either able to protect the equity they have in their home with the exemptions that are allowed by the states they live in, or they're able to catch up the payments they're behind using a Chapter 13 personal reorganization, similar to what a corporation does when it files a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Jan, you have some particular expertise in divorce and mortgages. What advice do you have for people that may be facing a divorce? Pardon me?
Can you hear me? Am I clear?
I can't hear you. There's a little bit of background noise, but I can hear you. What advice would you give a couple that, maybe they have a joint mortgage and they're facing a divorce? What unique issues are there for people going through divorce as it pertains to mortgages?
I'm having some trouble hearing you on my end.
I'm sorry. Let's see if Jan can fix that on her end. I think the microphone here is working, but I want to address this. We had a divorce attorney with us on the show, just on our Facebook Live presentation just a couple of weeks back. Both of us had the advice that if a couple if they're speaking with one another, it might be a good idea to talk to a bankruptcy attorney before the divorce. Sometimes if you can get rid of or address your financial issues, it either makes the divorce much more easy, or sometimes, people can get their money issues worked out, and the problems that led to the potential divorce go away. So many divorces are caused by financial issues, tensions within a home. So sometimes if you can deal with those financial issues, whether it be through a bankruptcy or some other option, that the need for the divorce will go away. So I want to make sure, I promised that we would answer some questions that we've had that have come in while we've done this. We've got some that have come by email, some that have come through our Facebook page here. Jana, if you can hear me, one of the questions I have here is, what is a forbearance?
A forbearance is, I'm hearing myself double here. A forbearance is a little bit of temporary forgiveness, I guess, is the best way that I could explain that. So if you're going to get a forbearance on your mortgage or on your car or on your credit card, you're going to get a forbearance, and they're going to allow you to not pay for a certain period of time. Usually when you begin with a forbearance, that will lead to a loan modification, which is something that we haven't discussed quite yet. A loan modification is something that you would apply for with your current lender. You wouldn't come to me to get a forbearance, but you would contact your current mortgage holder, and you would go through something very similar to the mortgage application process, where you would provide your W-2s, your bank statements, your current pay stubs if you have them, your unemployment pay stubs if you have those, 2 years of tax returns or more. And then your lender would decide if you could move from a forbearance into a loan modification, where they might give you a permanent modification to your loan. So if you've got, say, a 4% rate, but you can't make that payment, sometimes they'll lower it to 2% for the regular term of your loan. So a forbearance is where you don't pay for a while. A modification will take that forbearance and they will turn it into a permanent lower payment.
To underscore what Jan said, whether it be a forbearance or a modification, you're going to work with your existing mortgage company. Many of them, based upon the type mortgage you have, are required by law right now to review your modification options with you. But again, particularly in states like Alabama, Mississippi, and Tennessee, where the mortgage foreclosure process is very quick, you may also want to be in touch with a bankruptcy attorney to protect your home through a Chapter 13 bankruptcy if necessary. Jan, I'm sorry. Is it possible, or is it a good idea to refinance a mortgage right now?
We have a tremendous amount of refinance business right now. So if you are employed, if you're not on furlough, if you're not unemployed, and you do have enough income coming in, this is a really good time to refinance. And of course, the better your credit, the better your rate. We were able to lock somebody on an FHA 30-year fix at 2.875 last week, and we saved somebody, I think, $500 a month. So that's incredible, and that's one of the ways that we help people. So that that I would suggest that people do contact their lender, somebody that they trust, get pre-qualified, and at least get in line to do a refinance. And also, even if you're on furlough, you can still apply to do a refinance. However, you wouldn't be able to close until you receive one paycheck. So you'd have to be off furlough and back working and receive one paycheck in order to close and fund the loan.
Jan, a mortgage refinance is often one of the options we advise people to look at to avoid a bankruptcy if they have equity in their home and they can borrow money at a reasonable interest rate against that equity and pay off some of the other debt. It may be a good way to avoid a bankruptcy filing. So that's one of the first things we're looking at when people come to see us. And then, of course, if a potential or potential refinance is out there, then we try to get them to somebody like you, somebody that can give them expert advice as to their refinance options. Boy, these interest rates, we've both been working with people with money issues for a long time. I don't think I've ever seen interest rates this low. It's tremendous time, if you can, to refinance or to buy a home. Um, Mortgage scams, Jan. We hear a lot about scams that are out there. Can you give people advice about those type scams and how to avoid them?
I think what we're looking at right now, the scams that I see are ads on the internet that are encouraging people to put their personal information just blind. You'd be shocking the number of people that do this. People try to shop on the internet for a mortgage like they shop on Amazon for socks and underwear. And with all of the talk about fraud and people stealing your credit, the last thing that anybody should do is shop for a mortgage online and put their personal information into a program on the internet. There's so many. I can't even mention the number of dangers that can befall you if you do something like that. Always work with somebody that you trust, and there are some online entities that certainly are not fraudulent, but putting your information into the internet for everybody to see is just not a really good idea. Another thing that I think is fraudulent is a lot of the lenders that publish rates, and they'll say you can get a 30-year fix. Let's say I just said I locked somebody at 2.875. It was a wonderful opportunity for my borrower, and it was very exciting for everybody in my office. But I would never then put an ad out on the internet that said Jan can get you 2.875, because it's so complicated and there's so many things involved that it's not for everybody, because they might not qualify for that program. They might not have as good credit. Their debt to income might not be the same. So there's so many variables that are involved in getting a mortgage that I just don't believe everything that you see on the internet. And I'm a French model.
Jan, we've made the point so many times, but I want to say, if you need a mortgage, if you want to refinance or you want to buy a home, ask around, get references, maybe talk to a couple of different people, but don't just, this is such an important step. Don't just go to the internet. Don't just call some toll-free number. Find somebody like Jan, somebody that's been doing this for a long time, somebody that has a lot of expertise and clearly wants to sit down and work with you and help you find what's best for you. I think, hope, and I believe people perceive the attorneys with the Bond & Botes law offices in the same way. We currently, because of COVID, are offering free consultations by phone or video so that you can get advice from the safety of your home or office. But boy, we're anxious to meet with you in person too. We love sitting down with people that are having money issues. It's several weeks back, my law partner Suzanne Shin and I talked about ethical issues and faith issues pertaining to bankruptcy. A lot of our attorneys almost look at it as a type of ministry, to sit down and help people that are hurting, they're dealing with the anxiety of financial issues. We want to help you. So please be proactive. Please reach out for help. Jana, we've been going for close to an hour here. I do want to thank you for joining me. I apologize for the technical issues and the problem we had getting started here. But Jan's contact information is on the screen, folks. You need help, reach out to Jan Leasure. She's excellent and knows her business. If you're suffering right now, if you're struggling, please know that help's available, but you have to help yourselves too. You can't just sit back and let things happen to you. You have to reach out for help. And if you know somebody that you think is going through a hard time right now because of finances, please refer them to these Facebook Live episodes that we've done so that they can get advice. Please refer them to our website, bondandbotus.com. It's been on your screen. We have a tremendous amount of information in our blog. We've written on just about every issue possible pertaining to bankruptcy and finances. But reach out to somebody that you can trust. On behalf of...
You make a really good point, Brad. Don't hide. That's the worst thing that you can do. You know, explore and educate yourself and talk to trusted advisors.
Yeah, Jan, that's so many people they just want to kind of hide and not take phone calls, ignore the situation, and they wait until it's too late. There are ways to get help. There are things we can do, but reach out to us that we can do it before it's too late. On behalf of Jan, on behalf of myself, and all the attorneys with Bond and Botes Law Offices, we want to thank you for tuning in. Please join us again next Wednesday at 1:00 p.m. Central Standard Time for our next Facebook Live presentation. Jan, thank you for your great advice. I hope you have a great day and a great rest of the week.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. And bye-bye.
Bye-bye.